What black market did kids at your school run? This girl Danielle convinced my best friend and I, along with some other people, that she could forever change the taste of saliva in our mouth, so that our saliva would taste like watermelon, cotton candy, bubblegum, etc. forever. She made us wait a couple of days so we could really think about what flavour we wanted in our mouth forever. For example, she would tell us, "Are you sure you always want everything you eat to have a hint of watermelon?" Anyways, after a couple of days, we picked a flavour. She charged us money. I can't remember how much, but it was probably 50 cents or something. She made us chew on all this crazy stuff like paper clips, erasers, and other things. Obviously, our saliva never changed flavour, and she stopped this. But I worked at Starbucks a couple of years ago in my hometown, and she came in and didn't even recognise me, and all I could think about was how that girl made me chew on paper clips. Was she head of her own religion by then? Oh, that is amazing. I used to deal in whiteboard markers for teachers in high school. One teacher had a tendency to hoard them, leaving none for other teachers. I would take markers from him and provide them to other teachers in need. While there was no formal payment, I was given a little bit more leniency at times, e.g. request to leave the classroom for a moment, etc. Once the marker would start squealing on the whiteboard because it was almost empty, I get teachers giving me a nod as if to say, "You got the goods?" I then supply them with the marker colour of their choosing, usually black. It was actually a lot of fun, and I never heard teachers talk about my systems or chastise me for taking markers. Probably because they wanted to take Stingy's markers but couldn't. You taking them was actually better for them because if something happened and you got caught, they had plausible deniability. I was in elementary school when pogs were big. Everyone had cool slammers and stuff, but I didn't have money for good ones. My dad made one out of 1/2 inch of mild steel for me and used an engraving pen to make a simple pattern. Everyone was asking me where I got them from. I didn't want to lose my unfair edge, but I also knew I could make money. My dad had a big sheet of this 1/2 inch steel. I told them I was the only one who could get them. I sold them for $15 a pop. My dad kept 10, I got 5. And that's when I learned what overhead was. Man, I miss pog life. In 2nd grade, I won a Homer Simpson pog from a kid and got them banned from our school. I guess he accidentally put his Homer in and was so upset that he complained to the principal and they banned. I went to a private high school with a strict dress code, ties, belt, etc. So I bought a bunch of ties and belts from a thrift store and ran a lucrative rental business out of my locker. Rent a swag. Locker accessories such as carpets and magnets. Carpets? How big were your lockers? Only a few hundred square feet. The fireplace was really disappointing because it was only gas. Used to crush up warheads and mix them with sugar. Sold them by the straw with the ends melted. 50 cents a piece. Oh god. Hey kid, want some death sticks? You don't want to sell me a death stick. You want to go home and rethink your life. I don't know if this counts, but me and my brother would take money to beat all the challenges in GoldenEye 007 for N64, so people got all the cheats. The invincibility challenge was the toughest. That is badass. I used to sell Coke, the drink, because they didn't allow fizzy drinks to be brought in. Pablo Frescobar. Frescobar, okay. I have family in New York and we'll go visit a couple of times a year back in high school. Every once in a while we visit Chinatown in NYC and I'd end up buying hundreds of dollars worth of fake watches, Rolex, Tag, Gucci, etc. return to school and sell them for double than what I paid for them. A lot of people still do this. They fly off to China, buy cheap knockoffs and sell them for a huge markup wherever they're from. It's big business here in the Philippines. Pokemon cards we would hide under playground equipment and trade them because the teachers would take them if they saw them, so we always set up deals in class and created a whole Pokemon card trading network. Wow. My school used the metallic ends of pencils as a currency. Bronze was rarest, so it was the most expensive. Green was the most common, so it was the least. We traded for erasers or pencil cases or a spot in the 4-square line. Eventually got banned, but we still operated with people acting as banks to keep the currency hidden and to keep transactions hidden. It's actually pretty impressive to trade and maintain value of a flat currency like that. Yeah, and the emergence of banks is super impressive. I wonder where the bank managers are these days. Probably bank managers. At my school, they took all our sweets out of the vending machines and replaced them with healthy snacks. In the local town, there was a sweet shop where you could buy a kilo of mixed sweets for £5, so every week I would go there and buy £1 of small paper bags and spend the Sunday night before school repackaging them all ready for the week ahead. Come Monday, I would go into school and load my bag up every day, selling the bags for 50p. G-rated version of repacking and selling drugs. Cuban sandwiches straight out a duffel bag before school. They were bomb, cheap, and way better than the lunch in the cafeteria. Best sandwiches ever. I grew up in Tampa and miss being able to go to Ybor City for a real one. The few places in California I have found that sell them all put mayo on them. Makes me so mad. So now I just make my own using a slow cooker to do the pork. The only guy in school whose family had proper TV channels used to tape wrestling events and rent them out. That late 90s Extreme Championship Wrestling was hard to get a hold of. My buddies and I would pool money to watch the pay-per-view events at my house and always recorded them on VHS. Unfortunately, my mother saw an especially bloody ECW match, so we could only order WWE events. Luckily, I was always nice to the two ICP kids and they had all of the ECW shit. They would always loan me tapes to copy over the weekend, and on Monday we would be so excited to talk about them. This is the most 90s Midwestern thing I have ever read. Apple laptops in middle school. Some had iTunes, some didn't, and the kids wanted it, so I apparently was the only one who knew how to transfer the installer with my USB. I put it on everyone's laptops for gifts, favors, etc. in return. Got caught by the sub that day. I told her it was my flash drive, I could do what I wanted with it, and that's how I got my second attention of my life. How did you get the first? We may never know. When I was in the 6th grade, a teacher sold candy in between classes at marked up rates. A student decided to undercut her. That put an end to all candy sales. Today I learned the school system hates the free market. Classic example of big business legislating small business out of the market. You could even say it was a textbook example. These little game coupons that our teacher gave out for winning class quiz games, right when people were starting to get scanners/printers in their own homes, some kid made copies of his coupons and sold or traded them to other students. Since I had people asking what the coupons could be traded for, it was usually a piece of candy or a pencil with a fun print or something similar. I think the kids ended up getting caught like 2 weeks into the scheme. A lot of people are comparing this to Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which I've heard of but never read before. I think kids are just clever and do this kind of thing on their own because a lot of people in the replies had similar things happen in their own schools as well. I don't know if this is where the kid got his idea or not, but this may have been before those books came out. And that's how you first learn about inflation. In a similar vein, our high school had homework passes redeemable across all classes. You could use them as either one free pass for a homework assignment or 1 day delay on a large report. They even had a void message if copied. The teachers got them from the principal at the beginning of each quarter and they passed them out with wild abandon to anyone showing interest in class. The market was flooded. I'd buy them from kids for $2 each. Then I'd wait. At the end of the quarter, larger reports would be due. Rich kids would be buying them back from me for $25 to $50 each. I once made $370 in the last 5 days of the quarter. Whatever I earned, I typically only use a total of $15 to $20 to buy the next wave of homework passes. The rest was mine to keep. It all started with a single 75-cent investment, and that was the only bit of money I ever paid from my own pocket to keep it going. That is incredible. $50 though each for a homework pass. Silly bands. I remember a kid who made like $50 one day. Wanting to get in on this craze, I remember saving up for a month and going to the dollar store and buying a couple dozen packs of these damn things. Only when I got home I realized these packs were the ones that always contain exactly the same ones in every pack, and nobody thought they were cool or wanted any of them. About a month later, they went completely out of style. It kept me up at night for a while. I had the principal's secretary's handwriting down and used to sell hall passes for $1 each. Made a killing. I don't really know how much I made, but it was in the realm of $5 a day. Sometimes I went dry because you needed the actual pass paper, but I finally figured out how to get into the supply closet, slide the student ID by the latch bolt. I only took a few pads at a time so they wouldn't get suspicious. I could also forge my mother's signature, did it so well that when I brought in a note from her that she scribbled on the dash, they called her to confirm. I never grasped the concept of hall passes. Do you have hall wardens which detain you if caught without a pass? Freeze, criminal scum, and show me your hall pass. That's basically what it was like at our school, yeah. MP3s and CDRs were just becoming available. A guy I knew made a killing on mix CDs. Every week he circulated forms to fill out where you selected the songs you wanted on the CD. The newest hits were on the top and changed weekly. The rest of his library filled the rest of the form, and there was a space for requests. He'd deliver your disc the following week. He seriously made bank for a couple of years until everybody started getting their own songs from LimeWire or whatever. I don't know what he's doing now, 20 years later, but I don't doubt he's successful. Just as a bit of an aside, since a few responses have mentioned LimeWire, when this guy started doing it in high school, the only real avenues for music sharing were Usenet groups and IRC. I had two brothers in my school who did this in 7th and 8th grade. They were the only ones with a CD burner and they crushed it, $5 a pop. And a lot of times they just burned whatever rap was popular or shit they both liked. But at the time I especially had no other access to that shit as we didn't have cable TV or high-speed internet, so it was a hot commodity. Nintendo games. Some kid just sold them off for like 10 or 15 bucks a pop. I don't know where he got them from, but he said he just told his dad what he wanted and his dad would get it for him. He'd ask for the same ones over and over and it didn't matter. He'd end up with 5 copies and he'd just sell 4 of them. Either the kid was the most spoiled brat in history or his dad was straight up stealing them anyhow. Anyways, I could never get any. I had a Sega, but I remember that kid made a killing in grade 3. It was NES. Yes, please tell me how to download a car. Slap bracelets. Small southern town with just a Walmart and 1 or 2 small clothing stores that carried them. Anyone who went out of town to do clothes shopping or because their parents worked there would come back with bracelets we couldn't get here, so a little black market popped up. We had a really similar thing, yeah. Apart from the 20 minutes before the morning bell rang where everyone crowded around the front of the school being an open air drug market, there were always dice tournaments. The rules were 2 people put down X amount of money on a game, then both people rolled 2 dice at the same time. Whoever got 7 or 11 first won the money. The winners of the first rounds would play each other for the amount of money they won in previous games. This went on until the bell rang or it was broken up by teachers/school administrators. Things often continued in the afternoon after school let out. So many people got detention and suspended for repeat gambling. Looking back, it was hilariously stupid how much money was won and lost on a game of pure luck and the sheer number of people who got in trouble for it. Yes, I was one of them. You guys were legit playing street craps in school. 7 or 11. Snake Eyes watching you. I would buy 6 packs of soda for $1.79 and resell the 6 sodas for a total of $3. Those Japanese sodas with the marble were the rage back in high school. Some dude sold them out of the trunk in his car. All was fine and dandy until some idiot started leaving the bottles around the hallways. Not surprisingly, someone tripped and fell on a bottle and cracked it open and had glass all over his body. That scene was fucking horrifying. After that, all the sales of anything were banned and those sodas were banned. If you got caught with one of them, you were given detention immediately, and if caught more, often suspension. One fucking idiot always ruins it. 2 years ago, I was a sophomore in high school and freshmen weren't allowed to go off campus, but everyone else was. So I'd take orders, go to the local fast food shops and get the goods. I'd up the price by about $2 and ended up making about $200 a month. $200 a month, folks, not per year. $200 a month at school. Banana chips were 25 cents in the vending machine in middle school. I always went to school early, so I always ended up buying all of them and selling them for 50 cents a bag. This is one of my favourites out of this whole thread. Simple and effective. I lived in an area with a lot of retiree age people, a lot of which ended up raising their grandchildren. It isn't really a good area. Being older and from a rural area, they still don't trust online sites like eBay or Amazon, so I started ordering people things from those sites for actual money and added a charge for me to be making money off of it. It eventually got shut down because I got someone a USB in the shape of a pistol. It was the size of a USB and clearly a USB, but it didn't matter. The principal actually got the police involved to try to get me in trouble. During a drug search at my school, a guy got in trouble simply for having a shirt in his truck with Sex Pistols on it. Zero tolerance is a freaking mess. Okay, I agree with the Sex Pistols, but you know, if you have something that's the shape of a gun in school, don't be surprised if you get in trouble. Just saying. I ran it. For a few spare years in elementary, books got banned in the classroom. Not blacklisted books, but literally books in general. They were far too distracting, even though most kids read when done with work, etc. I started smuggling books to school and peddling them out to kids. It started out innocently. I had loads of Hank the Cowdog books that I was super into, and I hid them in my desk, and I loaned them to close friends when asked. But soon, the entire class knew, and that spread to the school. I became a full-time book smuggler. I had a system. where there was a 2-week borrowing limit, kept a log of who/what book/when, ran a teensy little library for myself, basically, and I made sure these kids were treating the books fairly. If anything came back damaged, they were banned from borrowing. Kept this up until middle school, which was considerably less totalitarian. I think that's a pretty good sign if books are in such high demand, there's a black market for them. Good for them.